The burden of C. difficile on our society is fairly significant. It was estimated that in 2011 alone, 450,000 plus individuals got this infection, 83,000 individuals recurred, and 29,000 plus individuals died from complications of C. difficile alone. Epidemiologically, the incidence of this infection continues to rise. But the question of the burden of this disease and the burden of recurrence comes up time and again. Stong et al. Looked into this at a major digestive disease conference in San Antonio, Texas in October of 2019. This study looked specifically at a young population through the IVQA Pharmetrics Plus database of individuals aged 18 to 64 in the United States. They identified 46,000 plus individuals who had data trackable back 6 months prior to their initial presentation with C. difficile and forward 12 months to track for recurrence. They tracked back 6 months to look for previous episodes of C. difficile to make sure that what they were identifying was a new de novo infection. Overall, they found that of the 46,000 plus individuals that got C. difficile, 6.7% recurred once, 1.0% recurred a second time, and 0.3% recurred 3 or more times. A truly remarkable statement on the recurrence rates of this infection. Importantly, though, during this study, the study group also looked at Charlson comorbidity indices of the individuals. The Charlson comorbidity index is an index that measures the general medical comorbidities of each person. And there was a trend for increasing Charlson comorbidity score in direct correlation with increased rates of recurrence. If you were to recur once, twice, or 3 times, there was a trend for increased Charlson comorbidity score in a stepwise fashion. In addition, this study identified that with increased recurrence, 1, 2, or 3 or more, there was an increased rate of sepsis seen in those patients and also an increased rate of colectomy or loop ileostomy, surgical interventions to treat multiply recurrent C. difficile. This study shows these remarkable trends, but also shows that the burden of recurrent C. difficile is significant, and by having that significant burden on the general population, it argues that by treating more aggressively earlier in the stage of infection, it's less likely that individuals will end up with sepsis and less likely that they'll require surgical interventions, thereby improving outcomes. A prospective randomized control trial is certainly needed to further clarify whether these trends hold true. However, this study obviously hints that the more times you recur, the more likely you are to have an adverse event.